Welcome everyone to our week 3 of Grad Stats, University of Cincinnati. This week we will introduce ourselves to the process of organizing, exploring, and describing data. It will be a very hands-on introduction to get you a feel for why this step of data analysis is so important. And it's typically rushed through in a number of stats courses because the focus tends to be on the more inferential analysis tools. But I really believe that knowing how to summarize and describe your data effectively is really crucial. As a starting point, I want you to test your knowledge. I'm going to ask you 2 specific questions, and I want you to write down your answers in a piece of paper. Please do not consult any source. Just give me what your belief is about these questions. What is the life expectancy around the globe? I'm giving you some alternatives there: 40, 50, 60, or 70. And just think about this. When we ask this question about life expectancy around the globe, you can imagine that somebody might have collected data by computing the life expectancy of various countries. Ideally, all of the countries. That's our population of interest. All of the countries in the world, we have an estimate of the life expectancy of all of these countries. And then you get an aggregate of all of that. That's the number I'm asking you to estimate, right? So what do you think that number is that gives us a good estimate of the life expectancy of the entire population around the world? And then number 2, by how much on average did life expectancy change in the last century? More specifically from the 1900s to the year 2000. And I also give you 4 alternatives there: 10, 20, 30, and 40. Again, you can imagine an observational study where researchers got an aggregate value of life expectancy by looking at values at individual countries, both in the 1900s and in the year 2000. All right, this data is out there, and we will use it to check our beliefs and our answers. So Hans Rosling is a student of world health. He has researched people's views about various world phenomena. And what he found is that the views of people are very, very biased. That is, it's not that people don't know about these things and then they just guess. It's not quite that. Their answers are actually biased towards particular answers. And he offers reasons why that is. The first reason he offers is that statistical facts don't come to people naturally. Quite the opposite. Most people understand the world by generalizing their personal experiences, which are very biased. Second, in the media, the newsworthy events exaggerate the unusual. And the newsworthy events are those that are happening here and now, and the focus is on these swift changes that occur in these short time scales. The slow and steady changes in major trends don't get much attention. So we don't know much about the course of history, in particular, how things are changing over the course of longer time scales. Finally, unintentionally, because of all of this, people end up carrying around a sack of outdated facts that, either they observed around them or that they got in school, including knowledge that often was outdated when acquired. So he decided to take action and created what he called the Gapminder. So he would research individuals' views about a variety of world health issues or issues that impact world health. identify gaps in knowledge between what's true and what people thought and do something about it. And to mitigate that gap, he created what he called the Ignorance Project, and he decided to use stats to mitigate the issue. The mission of the Gapminder Foundation is to fight devastating ignorance with a fact-based worldview that everyone can understand. So he uses his knowledge of stats and employs powerful data visualization tools and skills in order to communicate these ideas, statistical ideas, which are, as he said, not very intuitive to most people, in a way that makes the story that data tells explicit and clear. I'd like you to now listen to him doing his work and describing what he discovered and how he uses data to actually mitigate the problem. Let's listen to him.
I'm going to ask you 3 multiple choice questions. Use this device to answer. The first question is, how did the number of deaths per year from natural disaster, how does that change during the last century? Did it more than double? Did it remain about the same in the world as a whole, or did it decrease to less than half? Please answer, A, B, or C. I see lots of answers. This is much faster than I do it at universities. They are so slow. They keep thinking. Oh, very, very good. And we go to the next question. So how long did women 30 years old in the world go to school? 7 years, 5 years, or 3 years? A, B, or C? Please answer. And we go to the next question. In the last 20 years, how did the percentage of people in the world who live in extreme poverty change? Extreme poverty, not having enough food for the day. Did it almost double? Did it remain more or less the same, or did it half? A, B, or C? Now, answers. You see, death from natural disasters in the world, you can see it from this graph here. From 1900 to 2000. In 1900, there was about 500,000 people who died every year from natural disaster. Floods, earthquake, volcanic eruption, whatever, droughts. And then, how did that change? Gapminder asked the public in Sweden. This is how they answered. The Swedish public answered like this. 50% thought it had doubled, 38% said it's more or less the same, 12% said it had halved. This is the best data from the disaster researchers. And it goes up and down, and it goes to the Second World War, and after that it starts to fall, and it keeps falling, and it's down to much less than a half. The world has been much, much more capable as the decades go back to protect people from this, So only 12% of the Swedes know this. So I went to the zoo and I asked the chimps. And you see, the chimps doesn't watch the evening news. So the chimps, they just choose by random. So the Swedes answer worse than random. Now, how did you do? That's you. You were beaten by the chimps. But it was close. You were 3 times better than the Swedes, but that's not enough. You shouldn't compare yourself to Swedes, You must have higher ambitions in the world. Let's look at the next answer here. Women in school. Here you can see men went 8 years. How long did women go to school? Well, we asked the Swedes like this. And that gives you a hint, doesn't it? The right answer is probably the one where fewest Swedes pick, isn't it? Let's see. Here we come. Yes. Women have almost catched up. This is the US public. And this is you. Here you come. Ooh. Well, congratulations. You're twice as good as the Swedes, but you're not with me. So, So how come? I think it's like this, that everyone is aware of that there are countries and there are areas where girls have great difficulties. They are stopped when they go to school, you know, and it's disgusting. But in the majority of the world, where most people in the world live, most countries, girls today go to school as long as boys, more or less. That doesn't mean that gender equity is achieved, not at all. They still are confronted to terrible, terrible limitations. But schooling is there in the world today. Now, we miss the majority. When you answer according to the worst places, and there you are right, but you miss the majority. What about poverty? Well, it's very clear that poverty here was almost halved. And in US, when we asked the public, only 5% got it right. And you? You almost made it to the chimp. That's little, just a few of you. Just a few of you, huh? There must be preconceived ideas, you know. And many in the rich countries, they think that, oh, we can never end extreme poverty. Of course they think so, because they don't even know what has happened. The first thing to think about the future is to know about the present. These questions were a few of the first one in the pilot phase of the Ignorance Project in Gapminder Foundation that we run. And it was started, this project, last year by my boss and also my son, Ola Rosling, his co-founder and director. And he wanted, Ola told me, we have to be more systematic when we fight devastating ignorance. So already the pilots revealed this, that so many in the public score worse than random. So we had to think about preconceived ideas. And one of the main preconceived ideas is about world income distribution. Look here, this is how it was 1975. It's the number of people on each income. From $1 a day. See, there was one hump here around $1 a day. And then there was one hump here somewhere between $10 and $100. The world was two groups. It was a camel world, like a camel with two humps. The poor one and the rich ones. And there were fewer in between. But look how this has changed. As I go forward, what has changed, the world population has grown, you know, and the humps start to merge. The lower hump merge with the upper hump. And the camel dies and we have a dromedary world with one hump only. The percent in poverty has decreased. Still, it's appalling that so many remain in extreme poverty. We still have this group, almost 1 billion over there, but that can be ended now.
Let's stop here. I think this is enough to give you a sense of what I was trying to convey to you about the importance of data and good data presentation to mitigate false beliefs that we have about the world and about a variety of phenomena. So it's not enough to just say, here's some data, but how you present it matters, right? So I want you to think about this because, you know, you very soon will be leaders in an organization, in projects. How are you going to convey ideas matter? So this class should begin to introduce you to some visualization tools that will get you started in that process. We'll continue to talk on the second video in a bit. See you then. Bye.